You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next, the January 24th meeting of the Michigan City Common Council special meeting. You can get more information for this meeting by going to www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Tuesday, January 24th, 2023 meeting of the special meeting of the Michigan City Common Council. First, we'd like to give a few housekeeping rules. Please silence all electronic devices and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a silent prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Nyla, on the roll call, please.
Mr. Dabney,
Present.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Present.
Mr. Mack, Ms. Deitch, present, Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Present.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Present.
Mr. Simmons,
Present.
Ms. Jagus,
Present.
and Ms. Tillman.
Present.
We have 8 present and 1 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Call for a special meeting. What do we do? We'll move on. Ms. Nyla, our first resolution.
Resolution by title only, approving a request to connect to the Michigan City Sewer Utilities by Patrick and Kelly Burke of 1302 Lakeshore Drive, Long Beach, Indiana. And this is introduced by Ms. Deitch.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Are there any comments from the sponsor?
Yes, I know over the last week we've gone through a couple of things, but I know that one of the things that has been included is a waiver of objection and a consent to annexation. And I know that Mr. Skylar York is here for any questions as well.
Thank you, Ms. Deitch. Are there any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Any comments from the council?
I move for
Ms.
approval.
Second. We have a motion to approve by Councilwoman Deitch and a second by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Ms. Nyla, on the roll call, please.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jagus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
and Mr. Don Prespolinski.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Can you please read our first ordinance by title only?
An ordinance on first reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Public Safety Local Income Tax Lit Fund for the purchase of a fire truck. And this is introduced by Mr. Dabney and Ms. Jagus and Ms. Deitch.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Are there any comments from the sponsors? Mr. This comes from sponsor.
Yeah, I'll take a look. Real quick, this is a simple change in this ordinance to move this over to have the $850,000 balance for the fire truck come out of the the safety lit fund.
Thank you, Councilman. Any comments from the public?
Tommy Kolavic, Michigan City Fire Merit Commissioner, 1316 Ohio Street, and I have a public service announcement to make. Smokey the Bear says only you can prevent forest fires.
Thank you, Mr. Kolavic. Comments from the public? Chief Legault.
Good evening, Council. Doug Legault, Fire Chief. I know we've been emailing and doing other information at other times. So once again, if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, Chief, this truck, the one that we're going to be retiring or trading in, what's the status of that truck? Where is it going to go? Is it going to be put on what's called reserve status, or is that truck going to be traded in?
Correct. It'll be go to reserve.
Okay. All right.
Councilman, President.
Chief Legault, so everyone knows, I emailed you to get some information on the or data on the truck or who you were getting it from and what we were getting. With that said, I think that this should have been put together in an informational packet and given to the council. With that also, I would like to know, previously on the city council, the fire department and the administration have put together a committee to look at what equipment they were buying. And I would like to know, did you form a committee to talk to the firemen on what purchase that you guys were thinking about making?
I'm going off
And
of,
and if not, why not? Because that is, to me, been a past practice.
the committee was formed under a different administration. Right before I came in, there was a committee that was put together and they decided on going to a basic pump instead of a quint. Short wheelbase, basic fire truck to replace engine 2.
So, and how many years ago was that done?
That'd be 2 years ago. 2.5.
It's actually, I think, 3.
I've been here
years,
for
right?
2 years, so
It's been 3 years.
I've been here for 2 years, so it'd be about 2.5. I don't
Well,
know the actual date that they
Okay.
started it.
well, I'm just saying that I think that, you know, in this day and age, I think that was a past practice and I think it should have been done on with this purchase also. And that, I think they call that employee involvement, actually. Did you even go around and ask anybody?
We spoke to several people, yes.
How many of the rank and file?
I'd have to talk to Chief Reback. We've talked to several people on the department. This
Okay.
is what we came up with. This is our recommendation as a pump right now. That's our oldest piece of equipment, is a 2007 pumper. That's what we want to replace.
And what about, you know, we talked about this, I think last fall, August, September, about having some kind of plan and, is there an active plan being looked at or worked on? Because I know, you know, we haven't even got a price tag back on the other piece of equipment that's in Louisville being worked on.
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
There is a plan. We're working on it right now. We're looking at, and I've given you some years of the trucks that we have and replacement not recommendation, but a look at what we need to look at down the road as far as replacement with the years of the trucks and what's going to be next on the list. So there is a plan. We haven't completely come up with a definite answer, but we are looking at the years of the vehicles and what's going to be next.
What page is that on in this? Because all I see from that email that you sent me was,
We gave you the information that you asked for, Councilman,
I asked for a plan a long time ago.
and I actually gave you a listing a while back on that. Like I just stated, I gave you the years of the trucks and when they would be coming up for replacement.
Well, actually, I don't think we can even bring that up because that was given to us in an executive session. You talked about. So that shouldn't even be bringing up.
I actually gave it to you prior to the meeting, but I thought I did.
No, you brought it out at the meeting and I don't think we should.
I don't
talk.
think we had started, but we can
No.
look back and see.
I'm just saying is that we need to have an active list on, and the council needs to know what's going on here on this inadequate equipment. And what's there that, you know, needs to be replaced because I'm wondering what kind of price tag we're gonna get on that ladder truck that's been sent out. You know, when that comes back. And you know, originally you talked about having a truck for 500 grand. And now it's 850. And
I don't believe I've ever stated 500,000.
I believe you did.
Well, you'd have to
Okay.
prove that to me. I don't believe that's ever come out of my mouth.
Yes, it did. I believe you told me that at the fire station when I was out there looking at.
Absolutely not.
Yes. But that's all, that's
right.
okay.
That never happened. So,
All right.
Was there any other questions?
sorry, go ahead.
Councilman, Don Preston. Yes.
Yeah, Chief, as far as the plan goes for replacement of your vehicles for the future now, and I don't know how many employees, firefighters you spoke to as far as getting input on this particular vehicle. You know, whether it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know. But what I'd like to see going forward with your plan, you know, what kind of equipment you plan on buying, is that you put together a committee with the union and the firefighters, and, you know, whatever size you guys agree upon, how many firefighters you want on that committee, whether it's 5, 6, you come up with that. But then before we move forward, put that committee together so that the firefighters have their input on what kind of equipment they think is needed to fight fires in Michigan City. And that way everybody's working as a team instead of, you know, coming to us or coming to the next council in 2 years asking for, you know, another truck, because it's going to happen. We're going to be spending another $1 million or what have you. But I think that it's key that we get the firefighters involved. They're the ones that use the equipment. They're the ones that know what should be purchased, and get them involved. So before the fire department comes back, or if you could get that committee put together, say within the next 3 or 4 months, I'd appreciate that.
We are planning on doing that for the next purchase, but right now we need a pumper truck. That's my recommendation to you as a council. We need a pumper truck.
Okay, and you know, I hear the word pumper truck used, and then I heard the word quint used. Now, as far is it going to be a pumper truck? Or
Just
is it
a pumper
quint?
truck.
Just a pumper truck.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
That's my recommendation right now, is a pumper truck. I've made statements to the firefighters that we're going to have a committee on the next vehicle, because it's going to be a decision that's going to have to go along with what the city is progressing with. There's proposed, you know, new buildings, so we got to look at that. We might end up wanting more manpower, more fire trucks. We have to take that in consideration. So it involves more than just, you know, what the firefighters think they need. We got to look at what the city needs.
Oh, exactly. And, you know, and I agree with you. I mean, you know, we're going to be building the station block, you know, 10-story building there. You ever
Yep.
take a few stories, you know, I don't know if that's the right amount. And then the hotel condominiums, that's going to be right next door here. That's going to be 11 or 12 stories high.
Yep.
So those are, you know, huge buildings in my mind. So yeah, we got to plan for the future. And then the other thing we have to plan for the future is with this lit tax, where you know, we're spending $850 here, we're going to be spending millions going down the line, and everybody's going to want raises, everybody's going to want equipment. You know, these are going to be major purchases coming down the line. And, you know, I want to make sure that we can take care of our employees, try to get these raises put in place that we've been talking about and hearing about. So it all plays into that, and making sure that we got the right information to make the right decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chief Legault, I had just a couple quick questions based off the responses that you had given. Could you kind of explain what reserve status means?
Just a backup truck, like if one of our frontline trucks goes down, then we have it sitting there ready to be put in service while that truck is getting fixed.
Okay, so it'll basically be parked. How often would it be used? How often would it be serviced? Will regular maintenance be kept up on it?
Yes, yep, they actually check it out every morning, all the reserve trucks. So they get run, they're supposed to get run and checked out every morning.
Okay.
But it just depends on, the rest of the fleet. If something breaks down, then we have a reserve truck to put in place.
And one other question. So with the plan, because I do recall you giving us the
That was just a rough estimate I threw together real quick,
Correct.
just so you had an idea of what to look for down the road.
correct. And I was wondering if you can put together something a little more comprehensive as far as the age of the vehicles, the state of repair they're in, the major repairs that have been done on said vehicles, what the average lifespan of certain vehicles are. So then it gives us a better idea
Sure.
of how the fleet needs to be managed if there's not a solid fleet management plan in place. And if that's something we need to put into ordinance, so it's followed throughout administrations, then maybe we need to look into that, maybe with workshops and other committee work. So
Exactly, because we've had truck replacement programs in the past and they always kind of fell away. So if we could get that put into an ordinance, we were discussing that today a little bit at the office. If we could get it in writing, say an engine gets replaced at 12 years, or whatever age you determine. If we get it in writing, then, it depends on the council and the mayor at the time. It's never worked in the past. Yeah, and that's a great idea. If we could get it written down in an ordinance, that would be
and even,
tremendous
I don't
for
know-
us.
I don't know how we could use the lit funds, if it's
I
possible to
don't know.
put some to the side that's specifically for that. I don't know how we could maybe delineate some of those funds as they come in, make this is for salary increases. This is for equipment updates. So, we know what the pots are as we go forward to make sure that make sure all bases are covered, basically.
There is a CCD fund for something like that, but it usually doesn't build up enough to purchase a fire truck. So it's usually under, special purchasing for fire trucks. But that's also another avenue.
Yeah, I just had one more comment, and I called the city controller today, Yvonne Hoffmaster, and talked about that CCD fund. And it's a fund that's used by the police and the fire department, and $750,000 of it is, I guess, is what we're going to receive, give or take a few thousand. But anyway, I think there's already 727,000 appropriated out for this year. And that leaves like $47,000 in that account. So that's not gonna even touch a fire truck. So, but that's what that's there for. Anyway, I want to be added as a co-sponsor on this fire truck.
Are there any other questions for Chief Councilman President?
Yes, talking about that CCD fund and the money that was in there, sitting here today, I have a problem with that money, and your truck was not ordered last year and made that a priority. Or as soon as the tax was passed, that action wasn't taken to get this truck sooner. So, you talk about that, it's on reserve you got trucks that aren't ready that you have a problem with it. Well, I'll tell you, the problem I have is that I didn't have the spec sheet until you got an email, and I didn't have a confirmed price on this until an email was sent to me in response. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know who you were going to buy it from because it wasn't in the ordinance. So I got a problem with all three of those things, because I believe that this information should come to the council on any purchase. And I think that maybe that we need to look at putting an ordinance in place that it's followed, so we know what we're buying, what we're purchasing. Thank you.
So two things, can I respond? No,
You can't.
So in your statement that it wasn't started soon enough, this was started way back in July, I believe, and so I don't know what you're referring to. I didn't start it soon enough. Let me finish, please. You pulled it in September, so that delayed it also. It was put in for ARPA money. You actually made the motion to pull it, or the whatever it's called, amendment to pull it. So that delayed it. It was started a long time ago, so I'm not sure what you're referring to, why I didn't start it right away.
What I'm referring to is that this process should have been from the administration, knew how much money was in that account, and they should have said, let's take it out of that fund, because that's what that fund is for.
What fund are you speaking
The
of?
CCD fund. All right, for capital improvements for police and fire under the ordinance that was passed. And we could have probably had this truck already. That's what I'm getting at, Chief. And it wasn't the fact, the reason, let's clarify the reason that that truck that we're talking about, I asked the council not to approve, so we would have money for buying the water pipe and things of that nature out in the 420 acres that was annexed without anything planned to do any work out there, that we have an obligation. So in all recollection, this money was there, and that the administration should have told you, should have sat down with you and said, okay, we have this money here and we can do this. And instead, that money was passed to do improvements, I believe, at the fire department that you had spoke about before. And I just think it was a misdirection on priorities
By who?
for me. All right.
Misdirection
by the administration. That truck could have already been here. And that's what I'm getting at, because that's what that money is there for. And if it was such an emergency, that's the way it should have been dealt with.
The emergency existed after that. So the emergency is this truck broke down on these firefighters behind me at a structure fire. Twice. So that's where the emergency came into play.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
It's my line.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? Please state your name and address for the record, please. Smiley.
Oh, sorry. I gotta go last, so.
Barrett Taylor, Michigan City Fire Department, President Union Local 475 for the firefighters. I want to speak on what happened last week. Police Chief Forker got up and spoke to the council, which what he spoke about for his guys, I thought was very respectable and upstanding by him to stand up for his guys and say that they want raises. He mentioned our fire truck, $850,000. When you do the math, the $850,000, yes, is a lot of money, but it's less than 20% of the projected money that's going to be coming in from the lit tax. All right. That leaves quite a bit of money left over. Now, I know that we have contacted at least one member of the council at least one time, and I know that somebody else has been contacted. I can't get the name. I ain't able to talk to the guy today, but we've made contact twice to try to talk about the contract. We've been shut down or just ignored. All right. I got a couple of questions about the lit tax, and if you can point me in the direction to find the answers, that'd be greatly appreciated. Is one, the main thing is, how is it going to be divvied up between the police and fire? I know there's going to be times where fire might get more, police might get more, but is it going to be a first come, first serve basis? Like we come and ask first, or the police comes and ask first? Or are we going to try to fair it up a little bit, make it a little bit more equal? But yes, it's no secret we need a truck, and it's no secret that we all want raises. So I wouldn't be doing a service to my guys if I didn't come up here and speak on the firefighters' behalf and say we would like a raise also. We're talking to police, should be talking to fire also, because when it comes down to it, the lit money was pushed to retain the people you have, to bump up the salaries, to keep the police, keep the fire that you have, and also make it more sexy for guys to want to come here, or women, to get more police officers to apply. more firefighters, more people want to apply to be firefighters. Because when it comes right down to it, if we ain't getting paid enough and it doesn't look good enough, you can buy all the fire trucks, all the police cruisers you want, all the best equipment. But if you don't have the people to run it, work them and drive them, it's all useless.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the public?
Tommy Kolavik, 1316 Ohio Street, Michigan City Fire Merit Commissioner. I have a couple more public service announcements to make. The Indiana Utility Regulatory Committee encourages everyone to call 911 before you dig, and smoke and carbon monoxide detectors save lives.
Thank you, Mr. Kalawi. Any other comments from the public?
Just one comment, Mr. President, Dwayne Perry, Mayor of Michigan City, and it's in response to the statements that were made by Councilman Paul Przyblinski. When the statement was made that this was the administration's responsibility to determine this a long time ago, the administration does not sit around and say, well, let's buy a fire truck. We wait until the professionals tell us that they're in need of a fire truck. CCD was intended for that purpose. It was throttled down years ago because police were using it way too heavily during the last administration of both the city's government and the police department. So that's incorrect what was said. Administration carries no fault. And as far as who determines that a new fire truck is needed, we've got all these firefighters here, and everybody has their own opinion. But that's why you have management. Management makes the decisions. I don't fault the chief or his staff. They pay attention. You've got a lot of years of experience in this fire department staff. It's not a decision that's made. Everybody has their opinions, and there's a saying about opinions, and you know what it is. Every yours is great and everybody else's stinks. I'm not going to give the rest of it. You know what that is. That's what management is for. They make decisions for the whole. But that decision is made by the fire department. It was made on the basis of need. We don't schedule that. The administration doesn't dream that stuff up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Perry. Any other comments from I said thank you. Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Comments from the council?
Yeah, I got one.
Councilman Devon.
I understand the lit discussion and where this is all going. We have about $4.3 million that we're going to get for next year. And I think I've said this time to time. I really believe that this is the time, because way back we thought we had plans moving forward for rotation of police cars and all kinds of capital expenditures that we had going on with the city. When COVID hit us, we went to basically doing nothing, capital purchases. And we're really still trying to catch up from all of that. So in my mind, I think we do need to take care of the equipment that we're sending you guys out in. We want you to have safe equipment out there. And I also understand that you want to have raises. And at some point, we all are going to have to sit down, and nobody can just scream from up here, well, we can give you a 20% raise. We can give it to police 20%. That's not going to work. It's going to have to come together like it's a budget hearing where we're talking about this money to see where we address the most dire needs for both of you guys first, both groups, and then see what we have left to move in terms of raises. I know we just, with the police, my mind is right, somewhere in the neighborhood, 20%, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere close to that. And I can't recall exactly what happened with the fire contract as well. But in my mind, I think we need to start with the equipment, see what's left, and then move forward. The controller's office is here. They can correct me with a head shake or a no if I get this wrong, but we have $800,000 that was already encumbered. and now 850,000 here. And then, so now we're looking at what's left to possibly go toward other equipment to keep you guys safe while you do your job. That's important to us. It's important to me. And then we can go on and start looking at raises. That's how I see it. I can't speak for any of the other council, but I think these conversations need to be had, and serious conversations where we all sit down in a room and discuss these issues. Because for us to sit up here, stand and start barking out what we can do, and then, you know, addressing concerns like that is really going to be tough to have this conversation going back and forth. We need to get in front of each other and do something reasonable. Talk about how we're going to spend that money.
Thank you, Councilman Dabney. Any other comments from the council? Councilman President.
Yes, I'd like to be added as a sponsor on this ordinance, and also that my position with my discussion earlier was the fact that the money was there, and that the fact that the administration knew it was there, and if that a truck was needed and in dire need, that money should have been rooted towards getting a truck. Now, I didn't know that money was in there, but I can rest assured that the controller's office knew that money was in there. So you can say I'm wrong, but in theory, I'm correct, because the money was there, and that we should have used that money because the lit tax was coming. And the problem that I see is that we should have had a committee formed, and I'm not talking about 3 years ago, I'm talking about now, and that should have sat down and got employees' input and talked to the council, because I believe that all this information that I got should have been had when we were talking about the truck months ago. All right, and where we were going to go with it. I think that I shouldn't have to ask. I don't think any council member should have to ask for additional information. And I'm just, you know, you can defend it any way you want, but I think that the taxpayer needs to know. And this, everybody, you know, why is there a secret? You want us to spend $850,000, and so the public knows that it's a fire truck. That's all that's stated on this ordinance, a fire truck. And then it's coming out of the Public Safety Lit Fund. Number 2240. It doesn't talk about what it's going to be. It isn't even a simple description as a pumper. And the vendor or the manufacturer isn't even listed on the ordinance. That's what I'm talking about. And I think I'm totally correct. Thank you. We shouldn't spend money if we don't know where it's going.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Tillman.
Motion to support. No, we're not doing a, okay. No.
Any other comments from the council? Okay, this ordinance will be held over for second reading. Unfinished business. We have nominations for the 2023 voting members on the council committee assignments. Animal Control Board, Plan Commission, Public Art Committee, Social Status African American Males, Solid Waste Management, Tree Board, and Urban Enterprise Association. We'll start with Animal Control Board. Any nominations for Animal Control Board?
I move to reappoint Councilman Mack to the Animal Control Board.
Second.
We have a motion to reappoint Councilman Mack and it's by Councilwoman Deitch, and a second by Councilman Don Prespolinski. Are we doing the votes tonight also?
Yeah, for these, we should, because the meetings are already
Yeah.
being held.
Correct. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? We have one nomination for Councilman Mack. Ms. Nyla on the vote.
Ms. Jiggis,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
and Ms. Simmons.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. So that'll be Council Mac for the Manager Board. Next, we had a Plan Commission. Any nominations for the Plan Commission?
Yes, I nominate Councilman Bryant Dabney.
Support.
I have a nomination by Councilwoman Deitch for Councilman Dabney and a second by Councilwoman Tillman. Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Well, any other nominations for the Plan Commission? Sorry,
sorry.
no other nominations. Okay, Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
and Ms. Jagus.
Aye.
You have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you. Congratulations, Councilman Dabney. Next we have the Public Arts Committee. Any nominations for the Public Art Committee? Councilman President.
I'd like to nominate Councilman Don Prespolinski.
Support.
We have one nomination for Councilman Don Prespolinski for the Public Art Committee and second. The nomination was by Councilwoman Deitch and second by by Councilman Paul Prespolinski and seconded by Gene Simmons. Any other nominations for the Public Art Committee? Having none, Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jagus,
Aye.
and Mr. Paul Prespolinski.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Nyla. Congratulations. Next, we have the social status of African American males. Councilman Simmons.
I nominate Councilman Tillman.
Support.
I'd like to thank you for those nominations, but I respectfully decline at this time.
Okay.
Has anyone reached out for that position?
No. Yeah, I think we've all had a stand on and give someone new a chance. Is there anyone, any other nominations? Thank you, Councilwoman Tillman.
I would like to nominate Councilwoman Ziggis.
We have a nomination
Support.
by Councilman Ziggis and a second by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Any other nominations for the Social Status Commission? Any other nominations? Having done, Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Simmons,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons, sorry. Ms. Jagus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
and Mr. Dabney.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you. Congratulations, Councilwoman Ziggis. Solid Waste Management.
Council President, I nominate Don Prespolinski. Council.
Second.
We have a nomination for Councilman Don Prespolinski by Councilwoman Deitch and a second by Councilman Paul Prespolinski. Any other nominations for the Solid Waste Management? Having none, Ms. Nyla, on the vote, please.
Ms. Deitch,
Aye.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Aye.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jagus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
and Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Congratulations, Councilman Don Prespolinski. Next, we have Tree Board. Any nominations for Tree Board?
Yes. I nominate Councilwoman Jiggers.
Support.
Point of
Have a
order. Point of order. I am already a voting member on the tree board. I've been assigned to the tree board, so I cannot be the council liaison as well.
Oh,
Thank you, Councilwoman
I'll do
Jiggers.
it. If somebody.
I nominate Councilwoman Deitch.
Support.
I have one nomination for Councilwoman Deitch and a second by, nomination by Councilwoman Tillman and a second by Councilman Simmons. Any other nominations for the tree board? Having none, Ms. Nyla on the vote, please.
Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Councilwoman Deitch.
Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Jigus,
Aye.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Aye.
Ms. Tillman,
Aye.
Mr. Dabney,
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
and Ms. Deitch.
Aye.
We have 8 in favor and no one opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Nyla. Congratulations, Councilwoman Deitch. Next, we have, and last, the Urban Enterprise Association.
Yeah, Mr. President, I nominate Michael Mack.
Okay, we have one nomination for Michael
Support.
Mack and a second by Councilman Dabney. Any other nominations for the Urban Enterprise Association?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councilman Paul Prespolinski.
We have one nomination for Councilman Paul Prespolinski. There's a second.
Support.
We have a nomination for Councilman Paul Prespolinski by Councilwoman Tillman and a second by Councilwoman Deitch. Any other nominations for the Urban Enterprise Association? Having none, Ms. Nyla on the vote, so I guess would they state the name of the individual?
Okay, Mr. Dabney,
Mac.
Mr. Fitzpatrick,
Prespolinski,
Ms. Deitch,
Prespolinski.
Mr. Simmons, Mr. Don Prespolinski,
Mack.
Mr. Simmons, Ms. Jigus,
Mac.
Mr. Paul Prespolinski,
Of course. Paul Prespolinski.
and Ms. Tillman.
Prespolinski.
We have 5 from Mr. Prespolinski and 3 for Mr. Mack.
congratulations, Mr. Prespolinski, thank you, Ms. Nyla. Having no more business to discuss on our agenda, we are adjourned.